You're watching part of our series on building garage storage racks. The racks are perfect for beginners, cheap to build, and are an excellent storage solution. In this episode, we will be building the 4-wide tote rack bridge. The video is split into two parts. First, the Home Depot version tailored for their 27-gallon HDX black and yellow totes. Second, a modified design to fit the 27-gallon black and yellow totes from Costco, Lowe's, and Sam's Club. After nearly a year of full-time work, I am excited to introduce SnapSort AI. It's a system designed to help you manage the items in your totes. It's an organization app where AI does all the boring parts for you. Slap a sticker on your tote, scan it once. Now it's in the app, ready for your items. Snap a photo of your item. AI reviews the shot and writes out the description terms automatically. No typing necessary, making searching for your items later easy. Months later, search for boxing gloves. The app points you right to the tote. No more digging. You are in control of borrowing, moving, or deleting items. Invite your family to your workspace and organize together. Free to try on iOS and Android. Link below. This part of the video is for the 4-wide tote bridge. This bridge is specifically designed for the Home Depot 27-gallon HDX totes. The overall dimensions of the bridge are 88 3/4 of an inch long. The bridge is 28 1/4 inches deep, and it is 19 11/16 inches tall. The first thing you're going to need to do is gather your materials. You will need 9 2x4s that are 8 foot long. The first cut that you're going to make will be to cut these 8 identical shelf supports. You're going to need to cut the 2x4s to 28 1/4 inches long. Now, if you notice on the ends of the shelf supports, I do cut them at 45 degrees, and I do that for two reasons. One is easier sliding. The angle guides the tote into the rack. And second is tote protection. It prevents the tote flaps from catching on the otherwise sharp 90-degree angles. Now, how do we make that cut? Very easy. You take the 28 1/4 inch 2x4, and then about halfway in at 3/4 of an inch, go ahead and cut off this blue part at 45 degrees. Do the same thing on the other side as well. So the next step is to create these sort of H-looking structures. This is the shelf support from the previous step in white, and we're introducing a green component here. This is a 2x4 that is 16 11/16 of an inch long. These are identical. So you're going to attach the shelf supports to the green components, and the spacing is going to be 11 inches from the edge here, and you should be left over with 2 3/16 of an inch on the end there. To connect the shelf support to the green components, use 2.5 inch long screws. I definitely recommend that you pre-drill the holes and that you countersink the screws to make sure that the wood does not split. Also add wood glue for additional strength. You should have a total of 5 of these H-shaped structures. Now, some of them are going to go through a slight modification. The modification is that you're going to add one more shelf support directly on top. So this is the old one, this is the new one. 11 inches from the edge, just like the other one, and you should be left over with 2 3/16 of an inch on the edge there. So just like before, secure these with 2.5 inch long screws, pre-drill, countersink, and use wood glue. So you will modify a total of 3 of these. So 3 of these are going to be double-sided and 2 of these are going to be single-sided. The next step is to integrate everything together. We are introducing a new 2x4. It's in blue here, 88 3/4 of an inch long. And we're going to be using the single-sided H structure. It's going to be facing inward, and you need to use 3.5 inch screws to secure everything together. For this corner, I definitely recommend you pre-drill, countersink, and use wood glue so that everything is nice and secure. Go ahead and repeat the same thing on the other side here. We have the H-shaped structure, again, facing inwards, 3.5 inch screws, pre-drill, countersink, use wood glue. The next step is to add the double-sided H structures. These are going to go on the inside of the bridge. The spacing is going to be 20 and 5/16 of an inch apart. So from the edge of this 2x4 to the edge of this 2x4, it's 20 and 5/16 of an inch. Use wood glue, pre-drill, countersink, and use 3.5 inch long screws for that. And you're just going to repeat the same thing for the next H-shaped structure, 20 and 5/16. And then same thing here, same thing here. So everything should align nicely. You can use a spacer if you'd like to ensure that everything is exactly the same. All right, the next step is to add these two blue components. These are going to be identical to the 2x4s down here. So they're 88 3/4 of an inch long. You're going to be using 3.5 inch screws here, pre-drill, countersink, and use wood glue to put everything together. Now, I definitely recommend these L-shaped brackets for the bridge because it's going to be responsible for holding tote racks together, and also it's going to have its own weight. So these can be purchased on Amazon and Home Depot, Lowe's, and other places as well. I'm going to link the ones that I purchased for my project at home. So where did these go? They're going to go directly on the edges here. So both from top and bottom, we're going to put the brace here so that this doesn't sway side to side and so that it's locked and solid. So the ones that I purchased on Amazon, I like that they had the holes pre-drilled more in the center of the L-shaped bracket, and this makes for a stronger joint. So I just added 3 screws and then I was done with that. All right, so very important step is to secure the bridge component to not only the other components that you're going to have, the other racks that you built, but also to the studs of the garage. So in this case, we're using these L-shaped strong ties to do that. So these strong ties need to be secured to the rack frame using 1-inch screws. And then if we remove the drywall here for a second, we will see that these L-shaped strong ties need to align with the actual 2x4s of the garage frame. So you can use a stud finder for that. There's other techniques as well, but use 3.5 inch screws or 4-inch long screws to secure that together. Now, it is also important that you add some of these strong ties to the bottom here as well, so that the weight of the bridge is supported. So these are going to not only connect the bridge to the other rack here, but they're also going to make sure that the bridge doesn't collapse. So you can add a total of 4 of these, make everything solid and secure. This part of the video is for the 4-wide tote bridge. This tote bridge is designed for the 27-gallon tote, specifically from Costco, Lowe's, and Sam's Club. The overall dimensions of the bridge are going to be 91.5 inches long. The bridge is 30.25 inches deep, and it is 19.1/8 of an inch tall. The first thing that you're going to need to do is to collect your materials. You will need 9 2x4s that are 8 foot long. The first cut that you're going to make will be for the 8 identical shelf supports. These are 2x4s that are cut to 30.25 of an inch long. Now, if you notice on the ends here, I do cut the shelf supports at 45 degrees for 2 reasons. 1, easier sliding. The angle guides the tote into the rack. And 2 is tote protection. It prevents the tote flaps from catching on the otherwise sharp 90-degree angle. Now, how do we make that cut? It's very simple. You take the 30.25 inch 2x4 and then about halfway into the 2x4, 3/4 of an inch, go ahead and cut off this blue component at 45 degrees. And then do the same thing on the other side as well. Next, we're going to be making these H-shaped structures. So this is the shelf support from the previous step. And now we're introducing this green component, which is a 2x4 that is 16.1/8 of an inch long. These are identical. So you're going to be adding these things together. The spacing for the shelf support is 10 7/16 of an inch away from the edge here. And it is 2 3/16 of an inch away from the edge here. So to secure the components together, you're going to use 2.5 inch long screws. I definitely recommend that you pre-drill the holes and you countersink the screws to ensure that the wood doesn't split. Also use wood glue for additional strength. You're going to need a total of 5 of these H-shaped structures. Now, some of these H-shaped structures are going to go through a slight modification. You're going to be adding another shelf support. It's going to align with the previous one that you've added before. So the spacing is going to be identical, 10 and 7/16 of an inch away from the edge here, and 2 and 3/16 of an inch away from the edge there. Go ahead and use 2.5 inch long screws to secure everything together, pre-drill, countersink, and use wood glue. So you're going to have a total of 3 double-sided H structures and then 2 that are going to be single-sided. The next step is to add everything together. So here we're introducing a new 2x4. It's the one colored in blue here. It's 91.5 inches long. These are identical. You're going to be adding the single-sided H structure. It needs to be facing inward. Use 3.5 inch long screws to secure that together. For the corners here, I definitely recommend that you pre-drill, countersink, and use wood glue. Go ahead and add the second single-sided H structure that's facing inward. Use 3.5 inch screws, pre-drill, countersink, and use wood glue. For the center of the bridge, we're going to be adding the double-sided H structures. So these are going to be 21 inches apart. So from the edge of this 2x4 to the edge of this 2x4, it is 21 inches. Use 3.5 inch screws, pre-drill, countersink, and use wood glue. And you're going to continue this pattern until all the double-sided H-shaped structures are added. So 21 inches here and here as well. The next step will be to add 2 more of these blue components. So these are identical to the ones at the bottom here. They're 91.5 inch long 2x4s. Go ahead and use 3.5 inch long screws and pre-drill, countersink, and use wood glue there. Now, to ensure that the bridge is stable, I definitely recommend that you use these L-shaped brackets to do that. I'm going to have the ones linked in the description below that I used for my project at home. So where are these going to go? They're going to be added to the top and to the bottom of the bridge here on the corners. This prevents the bridge from swaying side to side, and it also makes it super solid. So the reason why I like the ones that I purchased on Amazon is because the pre-drilled holes that they had were more in the center versus on the sides, and this makes for a stronger joint. So I added 3 screws, secured that in place. All right, so this is the important part. You want to make sure that your bridge is braced properly and that it is braced both to the existing shelves that you had, the tote racks that you had, and also to the garage studs. So to do this, we're going to be using these L-shaped strong ties. So you're going to secure these strong ties to the frame of the rack using 1 inch long screws. And if we remove the drywall here for a second, we're going to be able to see that these strong ties are also aligned with the actual studs of the garage. So to secure these to the studs, you're going to need 3.5 or 4 inch long screws. Now you also need to add these strong ties to the bottom here as well. These 2 strong ties are going to connect the bridge to the existing tote rack. You're going to need to do that on both sides. This is going to make sure that the contents that you have in these totes and the weight of the bridge itself is well supported. Hey, thanks for watching. If you wanted a printable PDF build guide, I will have it linked below. You can print it or download it to your phone and use it offline in the garage. It will have everything you need to be successful in building a rack. See you next time.